So, Fortnite has like 650 million registered players and gets about 1.3 million people logging in daily. Roblox boasts a massive user base, saying that maybe 85 to 110 million daily players. Minecraft has tens of millions of daily players. These are all huge, massive games. Now compare those games to more recent games, such as Battlefield 6, which launched with a high of 747,000 concurrent players on Steam. That's huge, right? But 3 months later, and it's down to, actually, it hit under 100K for the first time since launch today. And something that I've been seeing on the internet is dead game, Battlefield sucks, all that kind of stuff. But listen, this is the thing. Almost every game loses most of its launch players. That's just normal. Keeping everyone who bought the game on day one, I think, is actually pretty unusual. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Arc Raiders, I think, is the one that everybody is going to point at. And it's actually still gaining players since its release, at least on Steam, because that's the only place that we can really pull numbers from. And quite honestly, that's insane. This is all while people are starting to complain about the game, such as skill-based matchmaking, aggression-based matchmaking, cheaters. All these things are starting to ruin the fun, but the player count still keeps going up. But really, in the grand scheme of things, I want to talk about why falling player counts are usually just how the gaming cycle works, especially now. It's not necessarily a sign that a game is bad, and this is not me quote-unquote defending Battlefield or any other game. It's more of me being tired of this echo chamber of social media where people are just parroting the insert percentage of player base has moved on from engagement farming accounts. You know what's actually dying? Anthem. Their servers are going off in a couple of days. That game was released in 2019. You know what game I've been told has been dying for like 3 years now? Apex. Its 24-hour player count on Steam is 172,000 people. That's not dead. Big releases pull in huge numbers initially, then those numbers drop off. That's just what happens. Battlefield 6 started with 747,000 players concurrently as a peak on Steam, and a few weeks later, it was 125, 100K. If you look at just raw numbers, yes, that does look bad, but every game does this, and we are taking data from one platform, and these games have a player base that many studios dream about. Battlefield 6 became the best-selling game of 2025. It outperformed the latest Call of Duty title. It set new records for the Battlefield franchise, and the October sales alone surpassed the lifetime sales of its predecessor with Battlefield 1. And this is all after what people would call the lowest point in the series with 2042. This is just like when a new restaurant opens in your town. Everybody wants to go check it out the first week, then most people go back to their normal spots, and that restaurant settles into its actual customer base. That does not mean that the food got worse, it's just the novelty wore off. This is normal. A lot of the people that show up on launch day are just curious about the new thing. They try it out, they decide if they like it, and a lot of them move on regardless of the quality. I do think Battlefield 6 has had missteps since launch, and I do think there is room for massive improvement, and I do think that if you don't address things quickly and efficiently, then you will continue to lose more and more of the casual player base as they run out of things to do, content to try, experiences to be had that are fresh and fun. And this is the case with pretty much all live service games. My point being is that you see a big spike and then a drop. That's not failure, that's just what launch hype looks like when it settles. The average gamer has a serious problem if they're thinking that it's bad for a game to have 100K players at once, especially when there are so many games out there competing for your attention. I was actually talking about this in a stream of somebody that I consider a friend who does marathon content, and we were talking about Battlefield 6 in the chat, and one of the chatters was talking about, how bad Battlefield 6 is and is doing. And this is somebody that's looking forward to Marathon, and it's just kind of like almost setting yourself up for failure if this is the thought process that you're taking into a game that you're looking forward to that probably won't be like Arc Raiders. It probably will, anything can happen. of course, but it just does not seem like a game that's going to have, 400,000 people playing it concurrently. I think Arc Raiders is this phenomenon. Sometimes we get them, but it is not normal. And most games aren't designed now to keep you playing forever. You can beat the story or you get to the end game, and honestly, a lot of people are just done with the game at that point. They got what they wanted out of it. I think of like Borderlands 4, it lost like 95% of its players in 2 months, and that sounds terrible, right? But most of these people had finished the campaign and got whatever loot they wanted. They played the game, they enjoyed it, and moved on. That's how that kind of a single-player, story-heavy game kind of works. But most of these people had finished the campaign and gotten their loot, and they played the game, enjoyed it, and moved on. So it's like when people are saying this game lost 90% of its players, it must be broken. Think about what those players actually did. Did they finish the game? Did another big release come out? Looking at the end of this year with Grand Theft Auto coming out, that game will probably set a bajillion records and everybody's going to be playing it. It's going to suck players away from other games. I think about Campaign Evolved. Are people going to start talking about, oh, it's been 2 months and Campaign Evolved has lost 90% of its players? Yeah, they beat the game. Like, it's just silly goose behavior to me. And the average player doesn't stick with one multiplayer game for just months anymore. They might play intensely for a few weeks and something comes out and then they switch. Maybe they come back for updates or new seasons, but the daily player count won't be the same. Live service games like Diablo 4 and Destiny and all these other games see their numbers go up and down. A new season drops, the numbers go up, content dries up, the numbers go down. That's just the pattern. Again, when a new game drops, people leave whatever they're playing. That's just how it works now, especially with younger players. I think when Battlefield came out and Black Ops 7 and Arc Raiders, all these games kind of came out around the same time. I look at Battlefield 6 and I'm not so sure that it gave people a super strong reason to stay. Doesn't mean that Battlefield 6 is bad or was bad when it launched. I just think that players were moving on. I look at Arc Raiders and I think that it managed to keep players and grow because it gave them what they wanted. It had quick matches, people were having fun, the variety in that game, the, content creators, streamer stuff, all that goes into it. And most of these player count discussions only look at Steam. Console numbers are hidden. Sometimes we get these, like earnings reports where they're like, this game has sold 20 million copies on PlayStation. It is great. But not really. We really don't get all those console numbers. And honestly, other PC platforms do the same thing. Like Steam is literally the only one. And Battlefield had 747,000 players on Steam, but it's also on PlayStation, Xbox. I believe it's on the EA app. And none of those platforms publish numbers. We can only see Steam. So the total player base might be healthier than, the Steam numbers alone suggest. Maybe Arc Raiders is more popular on PC and looks different on console. We don't really know. Coming from Halo, I know what the player count is on Steam, and I'm 100% sure that more people play Halo on Xbox than Steam, but, I'll never see those numbers. I just feel like people sensationalize this stuff, for clicks and everything, and it's cool to hate on something, and it's just, I don't know. Is the word annoying that I want to use? Some games really do fail. Some games really do fall off. Concord, good example. Anthem. But most games just follow that normal drop-off pattern. Like Concord is another exception to the rule because that game had hundreds of millions of dollars spent on it, launched, shut down in 2 weeks. And the player count was never high. It wasn't even a free-to-play game, so I think that it lowered it even more. So not normal. That's a complete failure. And most games just don't get shut down like that. They settle into having a smaller community that keeps playing. I look at a game coming out like Highguard. Man, I'm not sure what's going to happen to that, but it is free to play. Something I heard in another video was that somebody thought that Highguard was going to have a higher player count concurrently than Marathon would, and that's because, people are going to download Highguard to see how bad it is, and it's free to play, and then Marathon costs money, and people aren't going to waste their money. But in the end, Marathon is probably going to outlive Highguard, and its daily player count is always going to be higher after like a month of being out. Dropping player counts and these charts, they are usually just market reality and not a quality judgment of the game. So keep in mind, when you look at these player charts and you see these tweets and stuff, and they're like, blah, 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 just in your head, just take a second, take a deep breath, read it, and be like, that's so silly. People move between games constantly. New stuff comes out all the time. There are outliers, but again, most of these games see a steep drop after launch. Now again, Battlefield needs to do some things to get that player count back up. They need to figure out RedSec and their Battle Royale mode. They need to get more maps in the game. The seasons can't be so long. There needs to be more content, more variety, or else it will keep dropping and, you know, they might reach 2042 player counts. And at that rate, I'm sure everybody at EA or whatever would be like, yo, this is not turning great. I know they had their like 100 million player count thing. So I can't imagine that they're going to be like super happy with a prolonged drop in player count. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's going to do it for the video, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to get that off my chest because it's so annoying seeing it and it's such a stupid point to constantly see on Twitter. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment about how you feel. I read them all. Just be respectful. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace!